At my birthday dinner, my mom toasted my brother for finally becoming a real man, so I let everyone hear what he did last week. I didn't even get a name mention on my own damn birthday. The table laughed, clapped, cheered for him like it was his night, not mine. But they had no idea that 6 days ago he did something so vile, so reckless, so pathetic that the word man shouldn't even belong in the same dictionary as him. And by the time dessert hit the table they were all going to find out. Hey Reddit, buckle up, because my family has always had a talent for choosing the wrong hero, but this time they pushed it too far. I, 30M, 30 male, and my older brother Darren, 33M, 33 male, have been compared our entire lives, and by compared I mean my mom spent 3 decades treating him like the second coming of Jesus, while I was apparently the discount version of whatever she actually wanted. Doesn't matter what I achieved, Darren always did something more impressive, more exciting, more meaningful, even if what he did was dumb, irresponsible or straight up illegal. And if you think I'm exaggerating, let me give you a taste. When I graduated college with honors, my mom didn't show up because Darren wasn't feeling well and she wanted to stay home with him in case he needed something. When I bought my first home at 27, she called to congratulate Darren for being such a supportive older brother, even though he had nothing to do with it and was living in a basement he didn't pay rent for. When I got promoted last year, she told me, "That's nice, honey, but Darren has been working really hard on finding himself lately," as if his existential crisis deserved more recognition than my actual career. And yet, despite all that, I never hated him. Frustrated? Sure. Annoyed? Constantly. But hate? No, not even close. That changed last week. And tonight was the night the whole family would hear why. The birthday dinner was at my parents' favorite overpriced steakhouse. The kind where the waiters pretend to care. The chairs are too comfortable and everything smells like rich people pretending to like each other. My mom insisted on hosting it because family traditions matter, even though she spent the entire week texting me reminders not to be late, to dress appropriately and to be gracious if Darren made a toast, because he loves celebrating you. Which was hilarious, because Darren loves 2 things, attention and avoiding accountability. The restaurant was full. Buzzing with noise, clinking glasses, fake smiles. Our family table had 12 people at it. Aunts, uncles, cousins, grandparents, all of whom watched my life like it was a series they only half paid attention to, but damn did they devour every plot twist Darren gave them. I took my seat next to my father, who at least pretended to care, and Lauren, my cousin, who was the only one in the entire bloodline with a functioning moral compass. Darren strutted in late, wearing sunglasses indoors because of course he did, shirt half unbuttoned, smelling like cologne he definitely did not buy himself. My mom jumped up like royalty had entered. "There you are," she said. "We were waiting for you." Waiting for him. On my birthday. Classic. Darren hugged everyone loudly, slapped my shoulder like he owned the room, then sat down like a king reclaiming his throne. Dinner went mostly fine if you ignore the fact that every story Darren told was either exaggerated or completely made up. He bragged about some big opportunity he had coming up, which I knew was a lie because the man hadn't held a job longer than 6 months since high school. He told my aunt he was thinking about getting into real estate, which was code for I watched 3 YouTube videos and now I think I'm a businessman. He flirted with the waitress, lied about his age, and kept referring to himself as an entrepreneur, which is what unemployed men call themselves when their ego can't survive the word jobless. But I stayed quiet, patient, composed, because I had information no one else at that table had. Information that would light this place on fire if I wanted it to. 6 days ago Darren did something disgusting, something unforgivable, something that crossed a line so violently that the moment I found out I knew we were done as brothers. Completely done. And tonight, with my entire family gathered around a table, celebrating what was supposed to be my birthday, my mom made sure it became all about him. Halfway through the meal, she stood up with her wine glass, tapped it with her fork and cleared her throat like she was the host of some emotional award show. "Everyone," she said, voice sweet with fake sincerity, "I want to make a special toast." I set my fork down. "Here we go. I know today is about our sweet birthday boy," she said. She had called me that since I was 10, as if aging didn't exist. "But I want to take a moment to celebrate someone who has made us all so proud this year." Proud? There was only one person she used that word for, and it wasn't the one whose name was printed on the reservation. Darren looked up from his phone, smirking, already knowing this was about him. "My amazing son Darren," she continued, her voice swelling with pride, "has finally become a real man." The table erupted in applause. Applause. At my birthday dinner. For him. My father clapped politely. My grandma sniffled. My aunt dabbed at imaginary tears. Lauren looked at me with wide eyes like, "Are you kidding me?" My mom continued her delusional speech. "He's working on such important new opportunities. He's growing, maturing, becoming the man he was always meant to be." By now my jaw was clenched so tight I thought I might crack a molar. Because I knew something no one else at that table did. Not my parents. Not my grandparents. Not my grandparents. Not my aunts or uncles or cousins. I knew what Darren had really done last week. I knew what he'd been hiding, and I knew that my mom's precious real man had committed an act that would flip this entire family upside down. She finished her toast with, "Darren, we are all so proud of you." and that's when it happened. Darren raised his glass, smirking, soaking in the attention like a man bathing in gasoline, unaware that someone was about to hand him a lit match. "Thanks, Mom," he said. "Means a lot." And everyone turned to look at me, the birthday boy, as if waiting for me to clap along with them. And that's when I knew the exact moment the universe handed me the perfect opportunity, the perfect stage, the perfect setting, because in 6 days nobody had heard the whole truth from me yet, but they were about to. And nobody, especially my mom and her golden boy, was ready for what I was about to say next. The whole table froze after my mom's ridiculous, tone-deaf toast, but the silence that followed wasn't the polite kind. It was thick, tense, the kind that builds just before something breaks. And the only person in the room who didn't seem to feel it was my mother. She was still standing there with her glass raised, smiling proudly at my brother like he'd just been knighted. Meanwhile, I could feel my pulse climbing into my throat, not because she praised him. She always praised him. That was normal, expected, tradition even. But the way she said it, finally becoming a real man, was a slap across my face. I didn't see coming. For a moment, all I could do was stare at her, wondering if she really meant to humiliate me on my own birthday, or if she was just so used to doing it that she didn't even notice anymore. My brother Jacob sat tall, soaking up the applause that trickled in from the relatives who didn't know better. He grinned like he'd earned something, like he deserved something, like I wasn't sitting 3 chairs to his left, the actual birthday boy, the one who'd been keeping this family from falling apart behind the scenes for years. He even gave me that stupid sorry bro shrug he always used when he got attention meant for someone else. He didn't care. He loved it. He always did. Then when the clapping faded, my mom finally lowered her glass and added, "We're just so proud of you, honey. Really, a real man now." She didn't look at me once. Not even a polite nod. Not even the courtesy of pretending she remembered why we were all here. I felt my jaw tense. I felt my nails dig into my palm beneath the table. And for a split second I thought, maybe I'm overreacting. Maybe she didn't mean it that way. Maybe it wasn't a pointed jab. But then my Aunt Marlene leaned toward me and whispered, "Don't take it personally, sweetie." And that did it. That one sentence confirmed exactly what I already knew. She meant it. They all knew she meant it. I cleared my throat and set my fork down slowly. "Mom," I said, keeping my tone calm, "what exactly does that mean? Real man?" The entire table shifted in discomfort. My mother blinked like she hadn't expected to be questioned. "Oh, sweetheart," she said with that condescending chuckle she used whenever she thought I was being too sensitive. "Don't be dramatic. Everyone knows it's been a big week for your brother." Jacob grinned wider. "I didn't. And what about my week?" I asked. She paused, face tightening, clearly annoyed I'd disrupted her moment. "Well, darling, we can talk about you after dinner, okay? Let's not make everything about you right now." "On my birthday." Before I could answer, Jacob leaned back in his chair and said, "Don't worry, man, some dudes bloom a little later." A few of the cousins laughed under their breath. I stared at him, this grown man child, who'd messed up his life so many times I'd lost count, who'd coasted on charm and excuses and people bailing him out, and for the first time in years I didn't swallow it. I didn't smile. I didn't let it slide. Because 7 days ago, just 1 week ago, Jacob did something so unbelievably stupid, so dangerous, so selfish, that if I hadn't stepped in, his real man facade would have shattered on the spot and taken the entire family's reputation with it. And the worst part? My mother knew. She knew exactly what happened. She just chose to pretend she didn't, chose to toast him anyway, chose to ignore me anyway, chose the lie over the truth. As always, my hand tightened around my water glass. I took a slow breath, and I remembered every second of the mess Jacob created last week. The phone call at 2 a.m., the panicked breathing on the other end, the voicemail from the police officer, the car he wrecked, the person he nearly put in the hospital, the charges I somehow miraculously talked down, the money I paid, the strings I pulled, the hours I spent outside the station until they released him. All while he sat there trembling like a child, telling me, "Mom can't know, man. Please, she can't know." I remembered the lie I constructed for him, the alibi I created, the story I fed our mother so she wouldn't spiral, or explode, or exile him from the family, the story that protected him, the story that made her say tonight, "We're just so proud of you." Proud. Proud of a man who couldn't handle a single responsibility without me cleaning up behind him. Proud of a man who nearly destroyed someone else's life and walked away with 0 consequences because I couldn't watch him fall apart again. Proud of the wrong son. The one who did nothing. The one who earned nothing. The one who hid behind me his entire life. Meanwhile, I was sitting there, the only reason he wasn't in jail or facing charges or ruining the family name. And she toasted him. That was the moment something inside me snapped. Not angry, not dramatic, not impulsive, just done. Done protecting him. Done swallowing disrespect. Done letting her pretend I wasn't the backbone of this family. If my brother wanted to play real man, then tonight everyone was going to hear exactly what real man behavior he'd been up to last week. And if my mom wanted to use my birthday dinner as a pedestal to prop up her golden child, fine, I'd use it too. Except my toast wasn't going to be sugar-coated, or polite, or pretty. It was going to be the truth, raw and unfiltered. And when I looked at Jacob right there across the table basking in praise he didn't deserve, I saw it, that flicker of fear, A tiny shadow of panic in his eyes. He knew I could ruin him in one sentence, and for the first time in his life, he looked genuinely scared of me. Good, because it was time to stop protecting him. It was time to stop protecting all of them. It was time to tell the truth. And I could see in his face he knew I was about to deed down the money I paid, the strings I pulled, the hours I spent outside the station until they released him. The table went dead silent after my brother tried to laugh it off, and the only sound left in the room was the soft clink of someone setting down their fork too quickly. My mom froze with her wine glass still lifted, eyes darting between us like she couldn't process how fast the night was slipping out of her control. My dad stared at my brother with a look he'd never given him before, one of complete exhausted disappointment, and for the first time in my life I saw the golden boy's shine start to dull. My brother's face, usually smug enough to power a small city, suddenly looked nervous. Not ashamed, he was never capable of that, but exposed. Vulnerable in the way a man looks when the secrets he never thought would see daylight finally crawl out on their own, and I let him sit in it. I didn't rush, I didn't yell, I didn't even move, I just let the weight of what I knew settle across the room like a storm cloud no one could escape. He shifted in his seat, cleared his throat, forced a smirk that didn't match the panic growing behind his eyes. "Okay dude," he muttered, "you're making this weird. You made it weird," I cut in. My voice wasn't loud, but it felt louder than anything that had come before it. "I didn't bring this up. You did. You wanted attention? You wanted a moment? Congratulations, you've got the whole room." People shifted uncomfortably, my aunt looked away. My uncle coughed into his napkin, my cousins stared in that wide-eyed way people do when they know drama's about to drop but don't want to look too excited about it. "Honey," my mom said quietly, leaning forward, "can we please not do this right now? It's your birthday dinner. Let's keep things positive." "You toasted him," I said, turning to her slowly. "On my birthday, for becoming a real man." My mom's mouth snapped shut. "He deserves it," she whispered. "He's trying." I laughed, and it was the kind of laugh that made even me uncomfortable. Empty, bitter, too sharp. "Trying," I said. "Is that what we call it now?" My brother shot her a look, the kind of look that begged her to shut up before she made it worse. She didn't understand it, but he did, because he knew exactly what I was holding in my hands. He knew exactly what was coming. He just didn't know how much of it. I leaned back slightly, studying him the way someone might study a snake they finally cornered. "Tell them," I said. "Tell them what you were doing last week." He blinked. Once, twice, then scoffed, waving a hand dismissively. "Bro, chill. You're overreacting. Tell them," I repeated. His jaw clenched. My mom looked between us, confused. "What happened last week?" she asked. "He didn't tell me anything about." My brother snapped. "Mom, drop it," too quickly, too forcefully. And that was when every single person at the table realized he wasn't confused, he was terrified. My dad leaned forward, finally breaking his silence. "Son," he said, voice low and stern, "what is your brother talking about?" My brother swallowed hard. "It's nothing," he muttered. "Just stupid." "Stupid," I echoed. "You call that stupid?" "Yes," he snapped. "Drop it. I mean it. Don't start. You stole from your job," I said calmly, cutting him clean in half with the truth. The table erupted in gasps. My mom's hand flew to her chest. My dad's expression darkened instantly. My brother's face drained of color so fast it looked like someone unplugged him. "You what?" my dad barked. My brother pointed at me like he suddenly had ground to stand on. "He's exaggerating." "Am I?" I asked, tilting my head slightly. "Or did your manager call me because you listed me as a reference on your job application and she thought I should know you'd been caught siphoning company funds into your personal gaming account?" My mom's eyes widened in horror. "You stole?" "No," he snapped. "I borrowed." "Oh," I said with mock understanding. "Borrowed. So when you told them your account must have been hacked, that wasn't a lie. And when they pulled the camera footage of you making the purchases at the terminal, that was also hacked." My aunt whispered. "Jesus Christ," under her breath. My brother slammed his hand on the table. "Shut up. You think you're better than me? You think this is funny?" "Funny," I repeated. "No. But poetic? Maybe. Because while mom was toasting you for becoming a real man, you were being threatened with termination and prosecution." My mom looked like she might faint. My dad stared at my brother like he'd never seen him before. "Is this true?" my father asked, voice trembling. My brother didn't answer. Not because he didn't want to. Because he couldn't. I never broke eye contact with him. "Should I tell them the best part?" I asked softly. He shook his head violently. Don't. If you do." "What?" I asked. "You'll what?" And then I said it. The sentence that took whatever dignity he was clinging to and shattered it on the floor. "You didn't steal for yourself. You stole to impress a woman who ghosted you." The room exploded. My dad cursed under his breath. My cousins hid their faces. My aunt whispered something like, oh my God," over and over. My mom's face twisted into something between rage and heartbreak. "Is this true?" she said, voice sharp as knives. And my brother broke. Not loudly, not dramatically, but in the small humiliating way a grown man breaks when he finally realizes someone else controls the narrative. "I needed money," he muttered. You needed validation," I corrected. "So you stole. And then you expected me to help cover it up when they contacted me." The table fell silent again. My brother stared at me with an expression I'd never seen on him, fear mixed with hatred. "Why'd you do it?" he whispered. "Why'd you tell him?" "Because you needed someone to stop you," I said. "And clearly no one here was going to do it." My mom put her face in her hands and sobbed. My dad pushed away from the table like he couldn't stand to be near him. And my brother just sat there, breathing unevenly, his entire world collapsing in on itself, all at my birthday dinner at the exact table where mom toasted him for being a real man. And he hadn't even hit rock bottom yet. That part came next. I don't think anyone at that table understood what was actually about to happen when I stood up, but the silence that dropped over the room felt like even the walls knew something was coming. My mom was still smiling that proud glowing smile she wore whenever my brother so much as breathed in the right direction, completely oblivious to the fact that the ground beneath her was about to split open. My brother Mark leaned back in his chair like the king of the evening, basking in attention he didn't earn, wearing that smug grin that made it impossible to tell where his confidence ended and his delusion began. And I sat there staring at him, replaying every lie he'd told this week, every stunt he'd pulled, every line he'd crossed without hesitation. I 29M29 male ig snapped clean in half. My wife Emma 27F27 kept her hand on my knee like she was trying to stop me from detonating, but she knew damn well that the fuse had already burned all the way down to the end. And judging by the way Mark refused to meet my eyes after mom's toast, he knew it too. The funny part, none of this was planned. I didn't walk into that restaurant with the intention of nuking my brother's reputation in front of the whole family. I came for dinner, a celebration, a birthday, a normal night. But then mom lifted her wine glass, smiled at him like he hung the stars and said those words, "To Mark for finally becoming a real man," and everything inside me went cold. A real man, that's what she called him. A real man, that's what she called him. A real man, and me, the one who spent years working 2 jobs, the one who built a life from the ground up without needing loans, bailouts or second chances, the one who actually showed up for responsibilities, commitments, my marriage, my career. No, I never got a toast, never got applause, never got acknowledgement. But Mark, my brother, could burn down a building and my mom would praise him for keeping warm. I watched her beam at him, watched him raise his glass like the star of the show, watched the entire table laugh and clap, and something inside me twisted until it snapped. This wasn't jealousy, it wasn't insecurity, it wasn't even anger, it was exhaustion. A decade of swallowing shut, for the sake of family peace. A decade of pretending I didn't see how they treated him like a hero while treating me like the understudy. A decade of letting Mark skate through life like consequences were optional. But this past week was different. Because what he did wasn't some harmless joke or messy breakup or impulsive bad decision. What he did crossed a line he knew he had no business touching. And now mom was standing there praising him like he'd just discovered fire. Emma squeezed my knee, whispering, "Don't, not here." But the truth had already hit the point of no return. And what Mark did, what he tried to pull behind everyone's back, what he thought he got away with, no, he wasn't walking away from that. Not tonight. Not after my own mother used my birthday dinner to crown him the real man of the family. Mark cleared his throat, clearly uncomfortable with the attention, because deep down he knew he didn't deserve any of it. He only ever got praise when people didn't know what he was really doing. And for the first time in years I wasn't about to protect him from the truth. "Actually," I said, pushing my chair back slowly, "I think there's something everyone here should hear before we start pretending Mark grew up this week." The room fell dead silent. Everyone froze mid-chew, mid-breath. Mom lowered her glass. Dad blinked. My sister's jaw dropped. Mark's smile vanished instantly, locking into that familiar expression he wore whenever someone threatened to expose the real him. Wide eyes, clenched jaw twitching like he was fighting the urge to run. "What are you doing?" Emma whispered. But she already knew. "Just sit down," Mark said quickly. "Don't start anything. It's your birthday, dude. Chill." That word sealed his fate. I stood up completely, feeling every eye in the room drilling into me, feeling the weight of the moment settle on my shoulders like a lead blanket. "Mom," I said, "you want to toast him for becoming a real man? Let me tell you what he was really doing 7 days ago." Mark flinched like I'd slapped him. Mom blinked, confused. "Sweetheart, what are you?" "He didn't become a real man," I cut in. "He just got better at hiding what he really is." A ripple of shock ran through the table. "Jesus Christ," Mark hissed. "Not here. Especially here," I said. "Since you seem comfortable being celebrated in a room full of people who have no idea what you've actually been up to." My sister muttered, "Oh my God." Dad put his fork down slowly, bracing himself. Mom looked between the two of us like she'd walked into a movie halfway through. "And Mark?" He shook his head, eyes locked on mine. "You don't want to do this," he whispered. "Too late," I whispered back. Because tonight wasn't about revenge, it was about truth. And if he wanted to pretend he'd suddenly grown up, if he wanted the title mom just handed him like a trophy, then he could earn it by facing what he did last week. When that room fell into silence after I dropped the truth about my brother's little accident, the air felt thick enough to choke on. Every face around that table looked like it had been carved out of marble, wide-eyed, stunned, frozen in place. My mother's wine glass stopped halfway to her mouth, her fingers trembling just enough for a single drop to fall onto the tablecloth. My dad leaned back in his chair with the slow, heavy breath of a man realizing he'd spent years rooting for the wrong child. And my brother sat there rigid, jaw clenched, face drained of every ounce of color. He didn't even try to laugh it off this time. Didn't crack a joke, didn't smirk, didn't deflect. For the first time in his life, the weight of his own actions finally slammed him into the ground. And I wasn't done, not even close. Because he had spent years talking down to me, years letting everyone believe that he was the responsible one, the dependable one, the real man in the family. He let our mother worship him, let our father praise him, let everyone see him as the golden boy who never messed up. Meanwhile, I was the background noise, reliable, quiet, boring. The one they assumed didn't strive for more because my achievements didn't sparkle loud enough for their attention spans. But now they were all seeing the fireworks, and they were pointed directly at him. Let me go ahead and explain, I said, still standing, my voice steady in a way that felt more like clarity than rage. Because I think it's important everyone understands exactly what went down last week. My brother's voice finally croaked out. Don't, he whispered, not loud, not commanding, just scared. Oh, now you want to talk, I said. Interesting. He stood up halfway, reaching across the table like he was trying to physically stop the words from coming out of my mouth. Seriously, man, enough. I tilted my head. No, you've had enough your whole life, enough excuses, enough enabling, enough praise for doing absolutely nothing. Now you can have enough consequences. My mother snapped out of her shock just long enough to regain some of that controlling performative grace she loved so much. Both of you sit down, she said sharply. This is not appropriate. Mom, I cut in. You are not going to save him this time. She froze at that. My father rubbed his forehead like he was about to get a migraine that could kill a small elephant. My brother sank back into his chair, and I continued. Last week, I said slowly, while Mom was telling everyone how proud she was of you for stepping into adulthood, you were calling me from an unknown number, because you got your phone confiscated. A ripple went through the room. My cousin's eyebrows shot up. My aunt leaned forward like she was watching primetime entertainment. My grandmother clutched her necklace so hard I thought the beads might snap. My brother whispered, stop, but I rolled right over it. See, what none of you know, I continued, is that this real man you're toasting tonight got fired again. Not laid off, not outsourced, fired. For stealing company equipment. Gasps. Real ones. Raw ones. The kind people don't fake. And not just stealing, I added. He tried to pawn the equipment and then blamed a coworker when he got caught. But guess what? The pawn shop had cameras. My brother buried his face in his hands. My mother actually stood like she needed to physically intervene in the flow of information. This is enough, she insisted, her voice cracking. We will not do this at the dinner table. Sure we will, I said. Because you made this table the place to praise him. You made this table the platform for your little toast about your real man son. So now you get to hear the full picture. My father muttered a quiet Jesus Christ under his breath. My sister-in-law looked like she wanted to disappear into the wall behind her. And the rest of the family, they weren't even pretending not to watch. But that's not even the best part, I said. Because after getting fired for stealing and lying, guess who he called to bail him out? I raised my hand slowly. Me. The one who apparently barely tries. The one who's not ambitious. The one he's been talking trash about for years behind my back. My mother turned on my brother instantly. You told me that coworker framed you, Mom. You lied to me, Mom. My father slammed his hand on the table. Enough, he said in a booming voice. The room froze again. My dad rarely yelled. When he did, the house went silent. My brother shut his mouth instantly. My mom sank back into her seat, and I continued, because there was no turning back now. He begged me not to tell any of you, I said. Begged. Said he'd finally start fresh. Said he'd turn things around. Said he'd prove he was worth something. Said he just needed time. I paused. And then tonight, you stand up and let Mom toast you like you're the second coming of responsibility. My brother finally snapped. What do you want me to say? He yelled, slamming his fists onto the table. That I screwed up? That I'm not who they think I am? That I messed up again and I'm sick of being the family failure? Is that what you want? Silence. No one moved. His voice cracked on the last word. He looked broken. Completely broken. And for the first time in a long time, it wasn't arrogance or ego or smugness painted on his face. It was exhaustion, fear, shame, and something that almost resembled honesty. You think I like being the one who keeps messing up? He continued, voice unsteady. You think I like disappointing everyone? You think I like being compared to you? You think I like Mom acting like I can do no wrong when all I do is screw up? Do you think any of that feels good? I blinked. That wasn't what I expected. Not even close. He let out a shaky breath. I didn't want anyone to know. Not because I wanted to look good, but because I didn't want to ruin tonight. My mother's voice wavered. Honey, why didn't you come to us? He laughed bitterly. Because you always think you can fix me. And you can't. My dad's voice was quiet now. Son. But my brother kept going. I'm tired, okay? I'm tired of pretending. I'm tired of lying. I'm tired of messing everything up. And I'm tired of you, he said, looking right at me, dragging my failures into the light like it makes you better than me. That cut deeper than I expected. For a moment I didn't know what to say. Because he wasn't wrong, not entirely. I wasn't doing this out of kindness. I wanted the truth out because I was sick of watching him get rewarded for smoke and mirrors while I had to set myself on fire just to be seen. I opened my mouth, maybe to defend myself, maybe to apologize. I don't even know, but he kept going. "You want the truth so damn bad," he said. "Fine. The truth is I'm a mess. The truth is you're better than me. The truth is you should have been the son Mom bragged about. The truth is, I'm jealous of you." The room dropped into silence again. My mom exhaled like someone had punched her. My dad closed his eyes like he was processing a decade of misjudgment. And I felt something in my chest shift. Because those words didn't feel like manipulation or a performance. They felt real. Almost too real. "But that doesn't make what you did okay," I finally said. My voice quieter. "Lying. Stealing. Letting everyone worship you while you stepped on me every chance you got." He nodded once slow. "I know. And hiding it from everyone. I know. And letting Mom make that toast. I know," he snapped, then quieted again. He looked down. "I know. And I'm sorry." The words were fragile. Small. Honest in a way I wasn't ready for. My mother broke into tears. My father rubbed his face like he was trying to rewrite the last 20 years in his head. And me? I stood there feeling like someone had just ripped out the floor underneath us and replaced it with something I didn't recognize. Because for the first time in my life, my brother wasn't the golden child. He wasn't the arrogant one. He wasn't the loud one. He wasn't the center of attention. He was just a man who'd been handed a pedestal he never earned, breaking under the weight of expectations he never asked for. But that didn't erase what he did. Not even close. And as I stared at him, broken, shaking, unable to meet my eyes, I realized something painfully simple. This story wasn't ending with an apology. It was ending with a decision. One that only I could make. After the chaos of that night settled and the whispers died down, something in my family shifted. Nobody rushed to defend him this time. Nobody tried to garnish the truth with excuses. For once they saw him exactly as I'd seen him for years. And walking out of that restaurant, I realized the birthday wasn't ruined at all. It was reclaimed. Not by his achievements or Mom's fantasies, but by the truth finally sitting in the open where he could no longer hide behind it.